Lovers are few, familiar ghosts. To those danzians that I miss the most. By the gun, but still the shield. If I cry out of love, there's nothing real. Bless me, bless me. Trodden temple side once, storm and sunny. Bless me, bless me. Cue the old strings, a strain, a son of peace. Blood for blood, and blood for fear. With heaven please near. Love's a mess was kept for dead. Just remember the cost of what's been said by the bones of Roxy on your breath like indelible air. Bless me, bless me. Trawling tempest, sounds, storming sunny. Bless me, bless me. You, your strange, strange, a sign of me. I don't love you for what it's worth. So if you're leaving, can you hug? Cherry blossom, this is goodbye. Come here, lay me in your flight. Will I stay? Will it's worth? The world tells you must, then you know what to love. The world's on fire, so the world's on fire, so the world's on fire. Every love The world's on fire, so the world's on fire. Have you heard? Yes, I loved you. As a matter of fact, you fuzz around up instead. Love, let me please all down your knees. You once made me smile when you strayed. The world's on fire, so the world's on fire, so the world's on fire. Have you heard? The world's on fire. The world's on fire. The world's on fire. Have you heard? Lover, have you prayed to make for your release? So I'm no longer here by your side. What's that? The world's on fire, so the world's on fire. 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 Have you heard? My life in the morning sun, my life in the speeding car. Too much to lose. My life in the electric wires, my life in the empty breeze. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to lose. So get away that the world keeps calling. My life to you. You stole away and I'll keep it coming. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to you. My life in the messy room, my life in the greasy girl. Too much to lose. My life in the double house, my life in the war machine. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to lose. So get away that the world keeps calling. My life to you. You stole away and I'll keep it coming. Too much to lose, too much to lose. Too much to lose. My life to you. 'Cause my life and my love stands for always. And our love, our touch stands for always. In any way that you want it now. Just say the word, you can have it now. My life to you. 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 All right. Do we have any questions?
I do.
First of all, I was wondering if you would accept this free long sleeve shirt from our Sad Machines online
Pumpkins Forum,
Sure.
Facebook.
Thank you.
And I had a question about how you met Linda Strawberry initially, how you developed a relationship with her. I know that you attended her wedding and played a song for her and Justin.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that she, did a lot of the videography for the show down in LA with James Eha returning.
Mm.
She's from my hometown, from Orem.
Okay. Well, Linda was working with Joran Thorsrud, longtime Pumpkins producer engineer. I think they were trying to get her signed to a record deal when she was about 17, and that's how I met her when we came out in 2001 to work on Swan, what became Swan. And so we just became friends and been friends ever since.
And did Zwan kind of develop out here in Salt Lake City?
You could say that. I mean, I don't know if Swan ever developed, but
You got a standing ovation playing Jesus I in Salt Lake City, though. That says something.
when?
Here at Kingsbury Hall.
2002.
Oh, really? I don't remember. I thought I said to Jeff, "Have we been here before?" He wasn't in that band. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
So I have a question. We're all obviously large Pumpkin fans and have been for many years. And after this past weekend, you reunited with James. We were just wondering how that came to be.
I don't want to talk about it.
No.
It's
Okay.
It's self-evident, but I think that it's the type of thing where every time I do anything now, it's like I'm a politician. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're just really excited.
No. Well,
So-
that's I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's self-evident.
Okay.
Well, absolutely.
But the story, if I say anything, then it's online. And I don't mean online in a fan form. I mean people are trolling headlines. And if I say it wrong, then they cut out what I said. And so I'm not touching that one. I think it's
Okay.
awesome. I think it's awesome, and that's it.
So do we. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you'd accept this.
Sure.
It's a comic book for David Bowie. The character was based on David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't certain.
No, I actually got to sign this one. Well, that's cool.
And then, what made you want to talk so much about PTSD and our veterans?
Well, I come from a family of vets, and I saw probably what was PTSD, but actually in talking to military people, they prefer the term war trauma because PTSD is taken on a negative connotation, and also the idea that PTSD is a mental issue where a lot of wounded warriors, if that's the right term, they don't have a mental condition. They have trauma from experiencing something that I think any of us would have a hard time reconciling, no matter what your political or emotional feelings are about war. So, but what I saw in the culture was a real, there seems, if you look at every other military period in American history, there was a artistic and cultural class that filled the gap through song, through poem, not necessarily celebrating the dark part of war, which obviously that's part of our artistic culture as well, but celebrating the heroism and the sort of standard that our military represents in our culture, which even in peacetime, many Americans feel that the military represents our best. People who are willing to sacrifice something for a higher ideal, and again, not taking any kind of particular political position on it. So as someone who comes from veterans, saw what wars did to my family, seeing what it's done to my friends, and then seeing the way veterans are treated in our culture, it's an abomination. It's an abomination because when you try to separate humanity and your feeling, meaning like, I don't like that, so therefore I detach from the human cost of that. That is an abomination. And this is obviously a very religious community, and I think I'm speaking in a spiritual way. If you cannot look and see what's happened People talk about the glory of World War II. Well, that war was half the time that our most recent conflict. I mean, we have people that have been in war for now 10 plus years. So the emotional cost, the cost to the families, for our communities not to rally into that open space and take care of our veterans, irregardless of their political feelings, to me is a horror. And I have particular condemnation for the artistic class. You pick your movies, music, whatever, I don't care. Video game people, I don't give a fuck. Not stepping into that space and supporting the wounds that are the byproduct of decisions that people who we elected made. So on some level, we bear the responsibility for those decisions. And to personalize it to the soldiers or to make it a political issue to the soldiers is an abomination. Because there are so many people that need our help. And veterans are very valuable. We've contributed through the tax base to our military. So even if you don't agree with the political part of it, we've contributed to the skill sets of our military. So for them now to be reintegrated back into our community so that they can serve us by extension in terms of applying themselves vis-a-vis jobs or stuff like that, again, is an abomination. So I felt, as someone who's a public figure, that stepping into that space was something that I felt called to do. And it was very interesting because usually people in music tend to be on the left of the political spectrum, and there tends to be a anti-military, anti-war, anti-type of bias, although they don't seem to condemn it as much when Obama's president, but that's a political point. An interesting point to make, but that said, sorry, now I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I said enough about it. Yes, sir.
Bill, I just have to say I like your haircut, and I appreciate your words on veterans. I actually served in Kuwait. This concert's been 20 years in the making for me. My parents wouldn't let me come in 1996. It was on my birthday. I was a teenager then. My question's about a lyric in your song. Your lyrics from Siamese Dream, Siamese Dream to Melancholy has meant a lot to me. It's Galapagos. The lyric that I want to know is, if I fall from grace here with you, would you lead me to? I'm just curious who that is, because that lyric meant a lot to me growing up. So.
I don't really remember what I was thinking when I wrote the lyric. No, it's true. I mean, I've written a lot of lyrics. I don't mean that to be funny. But I think symbolically the idea that we, particularly in love, we fear that if we fall from grace, that the person that we love or loves us will leave us. You know, that's a difficult issue, I think, for everyone to understand. So that's what I hear when I hear the lyric. This idea that we have to be perfect in love, as opposed to love is acceptance, even should we fall. So that helps.
I appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How have you had to, I don't know how to really ask it, how have you had to mentally prepare yourself now that you're in this digital age of music where you're not going to have to create a CD? I mean, you're going to still create a CD album, but
Right.
having to worry about your music possibly leaking, a new album possibly leaking, how do you as an artist feel about that, and how have you had to change your way of creating music? Has that changed at all?
There's a lot of questions there. I think if we're just taking the paranoid part of at any point somebody can literally upload something and boom, out goes your work to the world. That's an unfortunate situation, but I mean that's existed for a long time in the music business. It just travels at the speed of light, and it's unfortunate that like everyone we work with, we have to have signed, legal documents and stuff, because there's always a risk there, because you can't mind the shop 24 hours a day. As far as the consumption part, I think there's plenty of evidence now after 20 years or so that the digital transference of music has hurt the I guess the thrust of why people do what they do. It's turned us back into more of a 50s culture, which was singles based. The Beatles were the apotheosis of we're going to make this album and it's almost like a movie, and that by listening to that audio movie you're going to be transported, like Dark Side of the Moon, you're going to be transported somewhere. I think we've lost a lot of that now, and in it music artists have lost their ability to thrust themselves into culture in a major way. So where in the past you would have had maybe 10 albums a year would be really talked about and studied and debated, now it might be 1 or 2. And then when you look at the sheer numbers of what an album will do in terms of gross market sales and its cultural reach versus a video game versus a movie versus some Netflix series. I mean, music is so far down the totem pole as far as commanding the cultural conversation.
Can I expound on that just a little bit?
Sure.
What are your thoughts on like the Spotify's and the Apple Music, where I'm only paying $10 music now a month to listen to your music, as opposed to waiting for your new album to come out and I'm going to give you that money for that album?
I think, you know, the better part of the argument with streaming is it's like the radio, right? And the idea is like, hey, you might hear a song from myself or another artist, wow, that's great, and then you want to dig, and then it's the old thing of like, okay, now we want to go see the show. But the evidence doesn't suggest that that's what happens anymore. I don't know why that is. A lot of people suggest that, particularly with youth, everything is so accessible that they respect nothing. That might be an unfair thing. Maybe they just don't care about music in the panoply of decisions that they make. You know, if Star Wars is here and a new album by their favorite band is here, there's no competition. I certainly remember a time where it seemed like the new album from a great songwriter like Billy Joel or Elton John seemed just as important as the new movie. It didn't seem to have this massive gap. So, and I think for myself as an artist, getting past the kind of the bummer trip of it all is important. Like, sometimes you tell yourself like things are going to come back, they're not going to come back. So then what you should do as an artist is you should reinvent the form by which you express yourself. So this concert's a perfect example. We kind of, I won't get into how we end up here playing this type of concert, but playing this type of concert with deep cuts, more acoustic based, more song based, is something that the business people told us would never work. And yet this tour is completely sold out, and we're doing numbers that you shouldn't be doing with an acoustic based tour. So what does that tell me as the head of the business? People like the songs, people want to hear the songs, people want to have a different experience with the music, and they're willing to engage in that, and the better it is, the better it is. You know, like the old model, which is quality equals a cyclical return. So there are moments that exist, but again, it took us to invent it. And as Pete Townsend once said to me, it's not the audience's responsibility to tell you what to do. You know, because if they tell you what to do, they're always going to default to what they know, which is, can you play your old album?
Right.
You know?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just always wanted to thank you for maintaining the authenticity in your art, even though it's so easy to get lost in pleasing the masses. Hypnotized by crass commercialism and popular demand.
Thank you. Well said. Yes, sir.
I was curious just if you ever get burned out on playing the guitar.
I get burned out on all of it.
Makes sense.
You know, after I've been playing for
30+ years.
30, wait, started in 82? So 34 years I've been playing.
Wow.
Yeah. But I look at it like it's a long marriage. It's like, no, it's a long relationship.
That makes sense.
And if you commit to it, then you understand that not every day is like Sunday. It's just the way it works.
Cool. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask how do you balance out? You mentioned people wanting to hear the same songs, the radio hits over and over again. How do you balance out between being an artist and being an entertainer, if you will? How do you balance giving people what they want versus what you know that they'll want?
It's kind of funny because if you listen to the unenlightened, they will tell you that giving the audience what they want is always the core of successful entertainment business. But if you actually study any successful enterprise, like Jimi Hendrix, or Bob Marley, or Nirvana, or the Beatles, you will find that that's not what happened. So what they're really saying is, we all went through the thing in school, the bell curve. Well, in the bell curve, mediocrity meets the mediocre minds in the middle. So what they're really telling you is if you want to survive or kind of get by, well, the middle is the safest place to be. But in terms of true success in the music business, and I would argue almost any form of art, it takes risk. It involves risk taking. So I think for us, particularly over the last 3 or 4 years, it's been finding kind of a different balance that has to do more with our emotional engagement to the material, not alienating the audience in the form that we're playing in, like not being so outside the business that people understand it to be, alternative rock or whatever. And then playing such a strong set that you kind of can't argue against it, even if you didn't hear everything you wanted to hear. That combination has been far more effective for us as a band than playing a greatest hits thing. Because the one thing you see with greatest hits is they don't come back. It's like literally sleeping with somebody on the first date. They get what they want and they're gone. That's true. Because there's literally no emotional engagement. And I still really believe that to underestimate the intelligence of the audience is just basically kind of underneath your breath think the audience is stupid. And if you think the audience is stupid, you're going to get stupid people. And I would argue that many people thrive in the world of entertainment by playing right to that middle, what I would call the stupid middle. And they don't say anything controversial because they don't want to lose those 10% of the people. And they say everything anybody wants to hear because they don't want to lose those 10% of the people. They'll willingly lie to keep those other 10% of the people that need to be lied to. So you have to make a decision that you'd rather have a motivated group of people who return again and again and again so that you can take a journey together and always have a new opportunity for a new peak experience. Or you literally go, what do I need to do to get your money today? And I'll worry about the other thing tomorrow.
Perfect. Yeah, that's cool.
I have another.
You already asked a question. Who didn't ask you a question? Young man.
Any advice for young musicians?
Well, how old are you?
I think 6.
Okay. Well, at your age, the most important thing is to practice. And what I would say, and the reason why practice is so important is, if you have an idea in your mind of something you want to do, if you don't practice, you won't be able to do it. Does it make sense? So it's like, let's say, this a similar example. If you want to be good at basketball, you have to be able to shoot from everywhere on the court. So no matter what situation you can hit the shot, right? So it's the same thing with music. If you have an idea like you want to make a sad song, you should be able to play in a way that you can always make a sad song. Nothing in your physical ability should limit your ideas. But if you don't have the physical ability, your ideas will always be less than your mind. So the more you practice, the more your mind gets to flow through your practice. Make sense?
Awesome.
Very good. Yes, sir.
While we were out there in line, myself and some new friends were showing each other pictures of our kids in Pumpkins shirts. And it's interesting to see the fan base grow and have kids. You two are a recent new dad from what I get. How's that going? How has that changed your heart?
I'm sorry to be repetitive, but the other day somebody asked, and I said, it's the first time I'd ever said anything publicly, and I said I've decided not to talk about it.
That makes sense. It's
because
personal.
I've made my life such an open book, and I look and I'm like, this is the one spot I got to put a fence up in.
Right on.
Because I just don't want to deal with the stupid part of it all.
Yeah, no, I'd do anything for my kid, and you're the same way, and I understand completely.
And so, call it what you want. you know?
Put the fence up and do it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Right on, Billy.
Stay off my lawn. Anybody else? Anybody else? No other questions? Yes, sir.
So, I'm from Ireland, and I know Kevin Shields and my buddy Valentine have been
Oh, very good.
for you. Why did you fall in love with that band, and why did you want to emulate their music on Simon's Dream?
Did you say emulate?
Yeah.
No, that's the wrong.
Oh, sorry. What's the word?
Inspired?
Inspire, yeah.
There's a misunderstanding there. First of all, My Bloody Valentine, one of the most influential and important bands of the 20th century. So let's set that aside because they're great and fantastic. What people don't understand about what I got from Kevin Shields as a producer and a guitar player was the way he stacked guitars. If you listen to Gish, I was already doing lots of guitar stacking, more akin to Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath. But Kevin Shields showed me there was this other way to stack guitars that created a different type of density that was prettier. So it wasn't about emulating or trying to be like My Blade of Time, it was trying to figure out how to stack guitars in a way. So if you put both albums on, they don't sound anything alike. It's more the process that I got from that. If there's any time we ripped off Blank Blank Time, it's actually in Gish with the song Daydream, which is kind of a slight tip of the cap to My Blank Blank Time. Anybody else? That's it. Okay, goodbye. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, mine's just a little lame question, but like, is there any way you'd tell me about your experience doing The Simpsons?
Actually, that's probably the number one question I've ever been asked throughout my life since. It's actually was pretty simple. We just went to a studio and we had the script. We'd already seen the script, and then they would just somebody would feed you the line. There was no you weren't reacting with the voice talent. So
yeah, I was wondering, how did you feel about Homer's comment to you?
In what way?
What do you think?
You're asking me to make a comment on a fictional.
No, how did you feel when they're like, when Homer was like, thanks for creating the music, so that my kids wouldn't ever. I don't forget exactly how it goes, but.
Well, I've said many times we're the band for the apocalypse. So I didn't disagree with the comment. Anybody else? We still have a few minutes if you want. That's it. Just sit here uncomfortably. What
kind of cats do you have? Mostly shelter cats or
yeah,
rescue cats?
I have 3 rescue cats. Kind of a black tabby, a tortoise, and a calico.
Is your tortie got an attitude? Is it the meanest one?
No, she's the most cat-like.
Okay. I have a tortie too. It's
Mean.
got an attitude.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure out what's going on in a cat's mind. You can spend a lot of your life trying to get into that psychology. And
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Any updates on the machinery issue?
Still in dispute with the record label, and until that's resolved, there's nothing.
Do you have any ways?
You already had it. No, anybody? Sorry, nothing. But did anybody who didn't have a question? Yes, sir.
So looking back over your career and a very extensive catalog, if there was one piece that you would be most proud of, or you would think would really be kind of your defining work, what would that be?
I don't think that's a. I'm not trying to be peevish, but I don't think that's a fair question. You know what I mean? Because every album is trying to say something different, and it's not like, I painted a snowman and then I painted another snowman and and then I go, the 15th snowman is the best one.
Sure.
And honestly, the public tries to do, those, I don't know, BuzzFeed or what, it's like they try to do the top 10 dumb albums, the top 10 albums to have sex to, you know what I mean? Like, the most essential songs and stuff. I don't think an artist should let other people define their vision. Go back and read, if you're bored, go back and read the Rolling Stone reviews of Siamese Dream and Melancholy, which are both sold, in incredible quantities and are considered classics by most measures. And I think we got 3 stars and 2.5 stars. And both reviews were dismissive and said they weren't, I subscribe to a theory, which is that people can't really review what a piece of art means for at least 60 years or 3 generations. Because you need to clear the political and social climate of the time. There needs to be enough distance that the dust settles. And sales and popularity is just one factor in a set of factors that determines the import of a particular piece of art. For example, Bach's son in their time was the star. Bach Sr. was like just some dude who worked at some church. He was known, but not a rock star. His son was the rock star. And now the proportionate interest in Bach's Sr. versus Bach Jr. is about 900 to 1. So were the people of the time stupid? Or was he so ahead of his particular curve that people literally could not understand the brilliance of what he was doing? And I think most people have a sense that it's not a fair contest. It involves a lot of other factors, and even when you look at let's take the Beatles for example. The Beatles are 10,000 times more important than they were even when they were the biggest band in the world. So how is it when they were the biggest band in the world and all these people were writing them, people even then could not see how important they were? That the social, sexual, political, everything that they represent, even fashion, would still, to this day, 50-something years later, still be reverberating. People don't have the vision and the ability to see that. But I would argue that the Beatles themselves did. Because the only way you can do that is if you have some sense of that. And so, if I'm talking about myself personally, I've been right a lot more than I've been wrong as a musician and as an artist. And one gets tired of defending something that doesn't need to be defended. But we live in a material culture that defines accomplishment on whether you made somebody's list. Like, what was one of my favorite ones? Top 150 alternative guitar players. I was 61 behind PJ Harvey. Now I love PJ Harvey, incredible artist, but I'm sorry, I think I beat PJ in a guitar duel. So that has nothing to do with true influence, true reality, you know what I mean? And that's a great artist, there's no negative in that. But I sat in the basement learning Yngwie solos for a reason, because I wanted to be able, like I told the young man, to play at some other level. And to this day, I turn on the radio and I hear people that were influenced by the guitar style that James and I created, because it's a particular way of playing that had never really been done. You heard it in other people's playing, but we merged something psychedelia, heavy metal in a very unique way. So you could sit there and argue with a critic till you're blue in the face, but they're going to tell you that somebody who can't really play but has the right haircut and is more flashy on stage is better. It's like, I took a lot of shit one time for saying, and I meant it with all respect, same type of condition, saying I'm not into the rock critic that puts the kid from Radiohead above Ritchie Blackmore. And of course, people made it a headline because it sounded like I was putting down the kid from Radiohead. I was actually saying, why is Ritchie Blackmore not at the top of your list? Because he doesn't play the way you want him to play, which has to do more, again, with culture and top 10 lists, and he's cool, he's not cool, she's not cool. So at the middle of that I'm going way past your question. At the middle of the artistic storm, the artist has to have the vision to say, I don't really care what you think, because if that was the thing that was the arbiter of the way I went through my process, I wouldn't bother. I would just get in line like everybody else and wait my turn and, hi, please, I hope you like my song. All right, have a good show.
Excellent.
Oh wait, you have one more?
You'll have to excuse me if I'm off, but did you play, remind me again, with all of Windsor when it first came out? Is that right? My question.
94, yeah.
My question is, how did you get involved?
Cross commercialism. They called. They say, hey, can you come help sell tickets? That's just the way it works. Somebody decides in some to ivory tower that you can help sell tickets, and that's it. It's that simple.
Quick.
Yes, sir.
I don't really have a question. I just want to thank you for actually your great music over the years, and your eloquence in your writing, and the times actually that I've gone through things actually, the good and the bad.
Mhm.
Just how much your words actually in your music has actually been a great pharmaceutical. It's just so natural.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And that's a nice way to end it, because I think, what is the value system? Like, in terms of gross sales, do we sell the most records? No. Well, you can say who cares, but you have to run a business.
Well, sure, but actually.
And talking about business is not very sexy, But that said, our ability to balance the business and the emotional quality and innovation, is closer to Walt Disney than it is to alternative rock. And that's why I still think that the band's true influence is going to take a long time to really understand, because we weren't chasing the same things that everybody else was chasing. Which is why when we were at our alleged peak, we kept blowing up the bridge after every album, which is the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. And I'll give you a simple statistic. When you have a successful Hollywood movie, the reason there's always Titanic 2 is because no matter how bad the movie is, that movie will do no lesser than 60% of. So they know going in, if movie 1 made $200 million, the next movie will make 120, even if it's the biggest piece of shit you ever saw, just because it's about the name. So every time we turned our back and said we don't want to do Siamese Dream 2, Melancholy 2, whatever, number 2, that's what we did. So we had to have a different goal in mind. But when you're dealing with a rock intelligentsia, which involves everyone from tastemakers, hipsters, and nowadays blog writers who think they're experts because they have a better record collection than you, their idea of what suffices for accomplishment in music has way more to do with facile goals than it has to do with whether or not you connect with someone on an emotional level that sustains. Which is why production, the feel of the albums, the emotional content, the lyrics of the album was always so critical, because in our eyes we were planting a garden that was going to keep growing. We always talked in terms of 10 years, 20 years. Even if the band would break up, we would say, what is this going to mean? Because we looked at all the albums that we listened to and the albums we went back to. And we went over our friends' houses, we saw Fleetwood Mac and, James Taylor's first record. You didn't just see like hipster band, hipster band, hipster band. You saw a lot of albums they allegedly weren't supposed to have, that were uncool. So you say, what is the defining factor? It's depth. Depth in music is you can't kill us. That's the one thing. And that's why I always say, it's like, if they could kill me off, they would. They would have done it a long time ago. And that's not arrogance, that's understanding your place and how to stick your foot in the mud that they can't move you. So I really appreciate you being here, and hope you enjoyed the show, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.